Welcome to Freelance Thrive. Here we talk with skilled freelancers about their professional journey. Stay tuned for real life experiences to learn and actionable steps to take to improve your freelancing career. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works. And my guest is Henry Latham, a freelance senior product manager, author of several books on product leadership, strategy, and startup failures, and founder and lead mentor of Prod MBA, a bootcamp for product managers, owners, and founders. So, welcome, Henry.
How are we doing, Yuri?
Super happy to meet you finally. As I told you before, I've been following you on LinkedIn and having this strange, as one of my friends told, friend flirting. So you kind of follow in person, but never have conversation. Yeah. So let's talk about you and your experience. And the first question, what is your learning approach? Basically, how do you learn?
Yeah, great question. Up until 21, 22, I'd done a pretty classical path, right? Went to school, got good grades, went to university, studied something that was a complete waste of time, politics and Spanish, but anyway, quite interesting. And then in my final year of university, I'd been working in Spain. I went to travel in Brazil to self-teach Portuguese, and so that was self-teaching, right? Going to the source, trying to actually go put it into practice rather than just read books or attend classes. But main point, actually, whilst I was there, I came up with a business idea for a travel app, and that eventually turned into a startup when I went back to the UK. However, I said, okay, I want to build this startup, got a team together, but I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, what we were doing as a team. And we had no product people. So, it was about 9 years ago. I said, well, shit, I've got to learn what product is. I've got to understand what business is. And, with a startup, obviously you've got, you need to get something out there. You start getting users, you need to start delivering. And, really learning approach was simply learn by doing, right? Quite simply. And that meant, learning fun basics of UX, UI, going into Google's material design and just saying how should a button look and how should that act, fundamental things like that. And then, okay, well, how do we translate that to code? How do you work with developers, etc.? So for me, it was a really profound learning and in terms of realizing, in fact, both by self-teaching Portuguese, but also then I think that probably gave me the confidence to build a startup to say, what, we're taught all of our lives up until, let's say, 20s for most people, that we have to study something to learn it, right? We have to go and do 3-4 years of this thing, and we have to follow a certain path. And that intense year of language learning plus building a business just completely tore that down and made me realize if you're really focused, you can learn anything. Best way to do that, learn by doing, right? Say, hey, I've got this problem, I need to put wireframes together. What the hell are they? How do you do it? Have a problem, then go off, research and solve it. Really, that is the only effective way of learning, in my opinion, and backed up by the science, in fact, as well.
And learn by doing includes a lot of mistakes, a lot of troubles, a lot of challenges. Sure. How do you feel about mistakes, or how did you feel about mistakes when you started learning by doing?
Yeah, two very different questions. At the beginning, thinking back to Backtracker, my first business, made every mistake possible, but blinded myself to them by making many decisions driven by ego. I was sure that it was the best idea ever, this travel app. I was sure that I could, be a great product person despite having no background, good business person despite having no business experience. And we had support actually from an accelerator in the second year, but just a huge amount of mistakes. And now this is a really important point. Mistakes are valuable if we learn from them. And actually in that first year, I wasn't learning from them, right? My ego was sort of protecting me from these mistakes. And eventually actually that led to the failure of the business. Whereas, now, or even straight after that business, where it's sort of picking myself back out, working out, okay, well, what am I going to do next? What's my purpose now? I realized that the mistakes are part of it, and learning is a key part of anybody's journey. And now, if I think back over the last 7 years or so, any opportunity I get to get negative feedback, constructive feedback, whatever you want to call it, any opportunity to try something out and see it fail or succeed, I absolutely relish. I genuinely I like getting negative feedback, whether it's on my product, whether it's personal, whether it's, me as a manager, because it's a really good opportunity to learn from, right? So, it's really about just switching this mindset, saying, set your ego aside, be open to improvement, because we all have to improve whatever level of experience. And by doing that, then you're just going to get better and better. It's inevitable that you're going to achieve your goals. It's inevitable you're going to get better at A, B, or C, or whatever it is.
I totally hear you, because when people say something good to me, I was like, okay, but tell me what I did wrong,
Yeah, I'm the same.
Do you keep track of those mistakes? Do you collect them in some knowledge base, or how exactly do you learn from them?
Yeah, great question. So for product, let's call them experiments, right? Product experiment is where we're testing out something and seeing, does it have positive impact or zero impact or negative impact, which is actually fairly common. In that case, I will track, what am I trying to do? What was the actual outcome? What's the learning sort of next step there? When it comes to personal learning, I look at this slightly differently. Like, I've done a daily journal for about 8 years, towards the end of that first business. And that is a really good way to, Marcus Aurelius uses a phrase, I can't remember the exact quote, journaling is really holding a mirror up to yourself every morning. And I found that is a very effective way, by just getting my thoughts down, you're thinking about what I'm doing today, thinking about maybe reflecting on yesterday. That's a very effective way to pause and zoom out a little bit, look at yourself objectively, and analyze past performance. And again, looking ahead and looking backwards as well, in a constructive way. But I wouldn't, I don't write down like, oh shit, forgot to buy flowers for my wife yesterday. How do I do that better next time? It's sort of more of a flow, informal, unstructured approach.
Create recurring notification.
Yeah.
Buy flowers.
yeah, that would be a very good next step.
So, okay, it's all about your learning approach, but what is your teaching approach?
So I think to talk about that, I need to give a bit of context on ProdMBA itself. So, 3 years ago, I started ProdMBA. ProdMBA is essentially a bootcamp to fast-track product managers and product owners to becoming confident, effective product leaders. Now, I looked at the market 3 years ago and said, I have founder experience, I've got product experience, right? These sort of two different areas. And I was looking at, doing customer discovery, speaking to people, thinking of starting a business. And that was the first step. And it was really clear to me that the market was failing. People were complaining about, they're reading books, listening to podcasts, but they're not actually putting this stuff into practice. Or on the other side, they go and do a, $5,000 boot camp or $60,000 MBA in some cases. And they're just getting very overly theoretical content. It's like, hey, go watch the videos and how you put it into practice, we don't know, we don't care, not our problem. So ProdMBA came to exist because, my experience as a founder with that hands-on experience made me realize, like, why the hell are all these boot camps just teaching theory? Because from my experience, I know the only way to learn product deeply is to go and do it, right? You have to run an experiment, not just to understand like the what I call the above the surface, that like the frameworks, the principle, importance of product strategy, importance of speaking to your customers, but also what we call the under the surface. Now that's the psychological side of things. Like, what happens when you try an idea out and it fails because nobody cares about it, confronting your ego, fear, product strategy. It's like you might have 5 really good directions you might take your product, and you've got to be really disciplined to focus on one. Now that in theory is quite easy to understand, but you don't deeply internalize it unless you go through that journey yourself. So ProdMBA is a bootcamp where we actually get product people to build a real product from zero, even all the way through to revenue in some cases, so that we can give you, hey, we need to give you theory, step 1, but secondly, we need to actually get you to think about it in practice. So that's, our workshops we do every week. And thirdly, you need to go and do this with real people in the real world. And that's the assignment we do every week, where even week 2, people have already spoken to 5 people from what they think is their target customer group, and they crafted a customer-driven product vision, right? Week 8, someone built and validated a prototype by selling a real product to somebody in many cases. It's we need to give people theory. We need to get them to go and apply it in a space where they're getting feedback, they're getting support and guidance, and then they need to just go and do it in the real world. And by doing that, they're going to deeply internalize and ultimately learn from, in a much more profound way, about that, whatever that topic or learning might be.
Did somebody tell you, oh my God, I didn't expect that I will sell my product to somebody?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And also, to be clear, it's not a bootcamp for entrepreneurs. Like, we have a few entrepreneurs in there that want to learn product, but it's 20% of people that will get to revenue, because that's not the key outcome. The key outcome is that it's simple things, like even at the beginning, like, hey, go and reach out to 5 random people that you think have this problem you're thinking about solving. And that's, just simply doing that. Oh my God, that was really scary, but actually it was really easy when I did it. And secondly, no, they didn't tell me to, F off. They were really happy to talk to me and share their problems. And, so it's, again, by just getting them to break down all these psychological barriers, they come out not just like understanding how to do product, but really confident as well. And that means, they're going to go and actually put this stuff into practice back in their companies.
So you told a little about the psychological part. So what do people need to have? Maybe some traits or maybe some mindset to learn effectively?
Yeah, great point. So my first book, Product Leadership Starts With You, really looking at sort of 3 key pillars that I see as a foundation. I don't think you can be successful without these. Think of a house. You need strong foundations, or the house is going to be shaky. For example, so first one is like objectivity. So how good are you at being able to zoom out and look at things objectively? I gave the example of ego, right? If we're really excited about an idea, we're going to blind ourselves to whether actually, hey, is that a good idea? Is it not? We run an experiment. Even with data, we can manipulate that subconsciously to sort of fit our own narrative. Yeah. So we need to be able to zoom out, look at things, really objectively, so that we don't go down the wrong path too long. Now, that could be with product, could be with learning as well. For example, great, really common example. I had a conversation a week ago. Someone's already doing an online MBA, and they were thinking about doing Prod MBA. It's an alternative MBA program. And, they said, well, I'm really interested, but I've signed up for this other course. And I'm like, okay, well, is that other course helping you move towards the goals that you've set for yourself? Yes or no? They're like, well, no, not really. Okay, so why does it make sense to continue committing to this? No, I don't care if you do Prod MBA or not, but does it make sense to continue down that path? Yeah. And they realized it didn't, but they, sunk cost had come in, all these sort of biases that we have milling around our head. It means that we tend to waste a lot of time, go down the wrong direction. So objectivity, first one. Second one is resilience, right? You must be resilient, particularly in product, particularly as a freelance, right? Where ultimately you are an entrepreneur. Why resilience? Because you will encounter failure, you will get things wrong. You need to be able to very quickly pick yourself up and go again. Without that, you're just not going to succeed, I think, in life. And there's a lot of science around happiness being linked to resilience. A lot of studies done in Denmark about child rearing and how they instill that in young children. And professional, particularly in product, again, lots of uncertainty. You've got to be resilient to keep, keep hammering away until you see the results. And then finally, focusing on the essential. So being able just to really zoom in and say, say it's learning. So you want to learn product. It's like, well, there are infinite things you could look at there, but we're going to, you need to zoom in on just the things that really matter, and specifically the things that matter right now for you if you're working on something, or, maybe it's trying to get your first product management role. What do you need to focus on? Don't worry about advanced product strategy, right? Yeah, great, important 2-3 years down the line, but what do you need right now to get into that first role, for example? So being mindful, being objective, second, being resilient, and then thirdly, being able to focus on the essential. These are really the foundations for being able to learn effectively and become effective, essentially.
I also saw that some courses, what they do, they collect like hundreds of people, they share with them some notifications, some
Yeah.
theory, then they put out some challenges and people do them, some home take challenges, and then they just say to them yes or no. And also what I noticed is that you are working in small cohorts, in small groups. So from your perspective, what is the power of working together in small cohorts? What is the power of connections within those groups?
Yeah, great question, and that's something we've obviously deliberately baked in. The power of working in a small cohort, there's really two things, right? For accountability and guidance. So firstly, accountability. If you don't post your assignment, so probably we don't want everybody doing it, right? We want people that are very motivated, serious about fast tracking their product career. And we don't want to waste time with people that just want to watch some videos, get a certificate at the end. So when it comes to accountability, there's social accountability, right? The fact that you show up day one, you see that this is a pretty, I don't want to say serious, but people are here to commit to their career and prioritize their career development. So you get that, that's quite empowering, it's inspiring, but also there's accountability. If Yuri's posting a great assignment and Henry's not, then Henry's going to feel like, shit, I need to put a little bit more work in to make this happen. There's also accountability from us. And people have said they like that before we even start. If you don't post your assignment, I will chase you down. I will Slack message, hey, what's going on? Fine if you've got other things on, but communicate it. If it's late, okay, fine. When's it going to be published, for example? So they like that. There's a bit of table stakes, a bit of tension there as well. And then secondly, it's support. We are aware that we push people into the deep end. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of new learning, particularly, take a product manager with maybe 2 years experience, things like product strategy, understanding, discovery, these are quite new concepts. So we understand that we're throwing them at the deep end, and then they need to go and speak to random people about this. So we take that support very seriously, and that is in terms of checking in on Slack. We have one-on-ones every 2 weeks. We have 2 workshops, which are sort of 10 to 12 people every week as well, so that they've got that support to say, ask questions, to just get some feedback about, hey, Henry, is this right? Does this product management strategy make sense? Is there anything we can improve there, for example? And that makes a huge difference. It means despite it being a difficult bootcamp, we still get a sort of 93 to 95% completion rate, which is, in an industry where it's about 20 to 30% for an average video course, for example.
Yeah, and I also believe that when you encounter some challenges together, it helps to build stronger relationships, and you can continue your journey together in the future.
Yeah, it's like a team, right? Working in a company. If you're a sports team, you're working together towards a common goal, and you go through the same things. It does make you stronger. Absolutely.
Henry, I wish to have the sky as the limit, but time is the limit to our conversation. So the final question: what is your favorite food?
Oof, good question. I think barbecue. I spent a lot of time. I lived in Brazil. My wife's from there, and we spend sort of 2 months a year there. Just the social interaction around a barbecue is on a nice sunny afternoon has to be my favorite.
Yeah, Henry, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and it's such a pleasure for me to learn from you.
No. Honestly, super happy to share, Yuri. And I think, really important topic for anyone that wants to learn. I think particularly for product people, we have to be continuously learning to sort of stay ahead.
Totally. And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button or 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.